In May 2011, 70,000 teachers occupied the main square of the state capitol in protest against the Alliance for Quality in Education law, which would consolidate national standardized testing in Spanish, meaning all students, regardless of their first language, would be tested in Spanish. However, this violation of the linguistic and cultural rights of Oaxaca's indigenous people had been ongoing for a while. Oaxaca, located on the south of Mexico, is one of its most ethnically diverse states, with a large concentration of indigenous groups who are mainly engaged in sustenance farming. Nearly 2/5 of the state residents speak indigenous languages. Life here is simple and easygoing. For these people, traditions of cultural employment have been handed down for generations. For Christina, weaving in her family has been a tradition, and as now she's older, she's ready to pass it on to her niece.
Hold music, or you write, or you draw, or you paint, or you sew. Whatever you do with your hands is a meditative practice. So that for them, it's never boring, it's never tired, because although they are talking and they are concentrated.
But how does this relate to language? For indigenous people, language is precious, representative of their lives and culture, preserving in every word the essence of their community. But this language is slowly dying. Despite the government legally granting Zapotec languages the same status as Spanish, schools still offer a Spanish-centric curriculum. While institutionalized oppression is a big one, it isn't the only reason Zapotec is slowly fading. Children growing up with exposure to Spanish media and culture don't see a value in their Zapotec culture.
And one day, when I was 8 or 10 years old, my father came home and said to my mom not to speak Zapotec, not to use Zapotec in the family anymore. Otherwise, the kids will not learn how to speak Spanish well. And so speaking Spanish well was better for all of us, according to my father, because then people will accept us, people will not laugh at us, and we will have more chances for survival in the city.
As much as I wanted to convince families like these to not abandon their own language, I don't think I had a right to do that. The question here isn't how we should stop the death of Zapotec, but should we interfere at all?
Culture goes through a life cycle. It's born, it goes through a youthful stage, it matures, it begins to approach old age, it gets senile, and it dies.
Maybe an exposure to Spanish isn't all bad. The jobs in these indigenous communities aren't high-paying, and without a Spanish education, the odds of these children exploring other potentially high-paying jobs are very slim. A woven scarf that takes about 3 to 4 months to weave is sold at 1,200 Mexican pesos, which means weavers are getting paid between $1 to $2 an hour, which is far below the $3 poverty line. But where does culture and preserving it stand when it comes to simply making ends meet?
The communities, it depends on what you want, but they're very, they're not isolated like people in the city. That's a whole different way of life, right? It's much more family-oriented, more community-oriented. You're not going to get rich, but it's for its quality of life, certainly. It would be hard for me to go there because I really didn't grow up in it, but for somebody who grew up in it, it's very much viable.
It is quite evident that Zapotec is dying, and indigenous people are at crossroads where they can either drift away from their culture and have a chance at living an economically sustainable life, or stay in their communities while barely making a living.